right, welcome to Sam's Stock Report. Today, we're tackling a big one, blockchain. You hear about it everywhere, right? But what we're going to do is cut through all that noise, all the hype. We're going to break down what this technology actually is, how it works, and most importantly for us, what it could really mean for you as an investor. Okay, so here's the plan. We'll kick off with the absolute basics. What is a blockchain? Then we'll get into how it works, talk about the real game changer, smart contracts, and then look at where the money is going. And of course, we'll wrap up with the biggest challenges. Let's get into it.
So first things first, what exactly is a blockchain? Well, to really get it, let's start with something we all know, a bank. Think about a bank's ledger, right? It's their central book of records. Blockchain takes that idea and completely turns it inside out.
Okay, look at this comparison. It really spells it out. A traditional bank ledger, that's centralized. One company, the bank, controls everything. You just have to trust that they're getting it right. But a blockchain is the complete opposite. It's decentralized. Imagine a digital notebook that's shared and copied across thousands of computers. No one person or company owns it. So you're not trusting a bank anymore. The trust is literally built into the system itself, into the code.
So if we put it all together, what are we looking at? A blockchain is, well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a digital chain made of blocks. Each block is full of transactions, and they're all linked together using some seriously strong cryptography. The whole chain is copied and spread out over a huge network. And here's the magic part. Once a block is added, it's basically set in stone. Trying to change it would be like trying to secretly rewrite a page in thousands of library books all at the same time. The whole network would know immediately. It's tamper-proof. Okay, that's the what. Now for the how. How does a transaction actually make its way onto this super secure chain? It's not magic, believe me. It's a really clever process designed to keep everything safe and in agreement. Let's break it down. So you can see it's a step-by-step thing. You want to send some money, right? You initiate that transaction. It gets broadcast out to this huge network of computers, what we call nodes. These nodes all check to make sure everything's legit, that you have the funds, for instance. Once it's validated, special network participants, you've probably heard of them as miners or validators, they grab a bunch of these verified transactions, bundle them into a new block, and then they compete. They race to solve a really complex math puzzle. The first one to solve it gets to add the new block to the chain, and for their hard work, they get a reward. That's the incentive that keeps the whole system running and secure. Now, that whole solving a puzzle part is super important. It's called a consensus mechanism, and there are two main flavors you need to know about. On one hand, you have proof of work. This is the original, the one Bitcoin uses. Think of it like a massive global race where computers burn a ton of energy to be the first to find the answer. It's incredibly secure, but wow, does it use a lot of power. On the other hand, you have proof of stake. This is the newer kid on the block, used by networks like Ethereum now. Instead of racing, validators lock up their own crypto. They stake it as collateral. It's kind of like buying lottery tickets. The more you stake, the higher your chance of being chosen to create the next block. The big deal here? It's way, way more energy efficient. We're talking over 99% less energy. That's a huge difference. Okay, so far we've been talking about blockchain as a fancy, secure ledger for things like Bitcoin. And that's true, but that's just scratching the surface. The real revolution, the thing that gets investors truly excited, is something called a smart contract. This is what takes the blockchain from being just a database to being a world computer.
So what is a smart contract? The best analogy is a vending machine. Seriously, think about it. You put in your money, you make your selection, you've met the conditions. The machine automatically gives you your snack. There's no person you have to negotiate with, no cashier. The rules are just built into the machine. A smart contract is exactly that, but with code on a blockchain. It's a self-executing agreement. If this happens, then do that. And because it runs on a blockchain, it's unstoppable and transparent. This simple idea, programmable money, programmable agreements, is what unlocks everything else we're about to talk about.
So this ability to program the blockchain isn't just a neat trick for tech nerds. It's the foundation for a whole new digital economy. And for us as investors, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the applications. And look, this isn't some far-off future idea. This is happening right now. Take a look at this number, $83 billion. That's the total value locked, or TVL, in just one corner of the blockchain world called Decentralized Finance, or DeFi. Basically, that's the amount of money people have deposited into these smart contract applications to lend, borrow, and trade.
We're talking about a serious amount of capital at play here.
So where is this innovation happening? It's really blowing up in a few key areas. First, you've got DeFi, which we just mentioned. Think of it as an attempt to rebuild the entire traditional financial system, lending, borrowing, exchanges, but without the banks. Then you've got NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Forget the cartoon apes for a second. The real tech here is about proving ownership of a unique digital or even physical asset. Think digital art, but also maybe the deed to your house one day. And finally, you have DAOs, or Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. These are like internet-native companies that are run by code and community votes, not a CEO and a board of directors. 3 massive new frontiers, all built on the same core technology.
Okay, so far it all sounds pretty revolutionary, right? But, and this is a big but, with all of this potential comes a ton of risk. This is still a very young, very volatile space. So as an investor, it's absolutely critical to have a reality check and understand the huge challenges that still lie ahead.
And this chart right here shows one of the biggest roadblocks perfectly: scalability. Just look at the difference. Bitcoin can handle maybe 7 transactions per second. Ethereum, around 30. Visa, thousands. It's not even in the same league. This creates a massive traffic jam on the blockchain. When too many people try to use it at once, the network gets clogged and the fees to get your transaction through can go through the roof. It's a huge problem if this is ever going to be used by billions of people. And it's not just about speed. There's a whole minefield of other risks to think about. Regulation? It's the Wild West. Governments are still figuring out what to do, which creates a lot of uncertainty. The energy consumption debate is still raging for proof-of-work chains. And let's be honest, actually using this stuff can be incredibly complicated for the average person. But maybe the scariest risk is security. Remember how smart contracts are unstoppable? What if there's a bug in the code? It can lead to catastrophic losses. Just look at the DAO hack back in the early days of Ethereum. A single bug led to tens of millions of dollars being drained. The fallout was so bad, it literally split the entire community in 2. That's how high the stakes are. So that brings us to the big question, the one every investor has to ask themselves. Is this whole blockchain thing just a fascinating but niche piece of tech, or is it truly going to reshape our economy? The challenges we've talked about, the speed, the regulations, the security, they are absolutely real and should not be ignored. But on the other side of that, the potential to cut out the middlemen, to create entirely new kinds of markets that are open and transparent, that potential is also undeniable. We're still in the very early innings of this game. It's filled with risk, for sure, but also incredible opportunity. The key takeaway for you? Do your homework. Understand the good and the bad, and learn to separate the genuine innovation from the hype.